When you think of Saturn, you immediately picture those incredible rings. They're just one of the most iconic sights in our entire solar system. But for scientists, for decades, those beautiful rings have been a huge nagging puzzle. So today, we're going to dig into a theory that asks a pretty wild question and, believe me, offers an even wilder answer. What's wrong with the rings around Saturn? Okay, so let's get right into it. The whole issue with the rings is really just our entry point, our first clue in a much, much bigger story that stretches from Saturn all the way back to the ancient history of our own planet. So what is the actual problem here? I mean, we're always told the solar system is, 4.5 billion years old, so you'd think everything in it would be pretty ancient too. But Saturn's rings, they just don't seem to fit that story. And that's the real kicker. Data from incredible missions like Cassini have shown us that the rings are made of this stunningly pure water ice, and they just don't have that much mass. All of that evidence points to one conclusion: they can't be billions of years old. In fact, scientists think they're only about 10 to 100 million years old, which is basically a blink of an eye in cosmic time. And that is a huge problem for our standard models. So where in the world did they come from? Well, for one possible answer, we're going to turn to a really unexpected place. This doesn't come from a big university or space agency. Nope, it comes from an author who calls his life's work the truck driver's theory. The man behind this theory is Darrell Waters, and he's not a professor or a PhD. He's a long-haul truck driver, and he argues that his position as an outsider is actually his greatest strength. He isn't tied down by existing academic models, which he believes gives him the freedom to connect dots that specialists stuck in their own fields might just overlook. Now, what's interesting is that Waters' theory doesn't start out in space with Saturn. It starts right here on Earth. He kicks things off by looking at a whole bunch of weird stuff, anomalies that he claims standard science really struggles to explain with one single, clean story. He points to things like these polystrate fossils. I mean, imagine this. You find a fossilized tree trunk, standing perfectly upright, cutting clean through multiple rock layers that are supposed to be separated by millions and millions of years. How is that even possible if those layers were laid down slowly? Or he'll point to these razor-sharp boundaries between rock layers, with no signs of erosion you'd expect over eons. But one of the biggest anomalies he focuses on is a lot closer than Saturn. It's our own moon. Just look at the difference here. The moon has two completely different faces. The side we always see has a thinner crust, these huge, dark volcanic plains we call Maria, and it's covered in this thick, fine dust. But the far side? It has a much thicker crust and almost none of those volcanic plains. It's like two different worlds glued together. And this isn't just speculation. NASA's Grail mission confirmed this deep difference, and it's still one of the biggest unsolved mysteries about the moon. So, according to Waters, what does mainstream science do with all these weird facts? He argues that for every single anomaly, a new special explanation is invented, a one-off fix. His whole critique is that this just creates a messy patchwork of excuses instead of a single theory that explains everything. He thinks these aren't separate problems at all. They're all clues pointing to one single gigantic event. And this is where it all comes together. This is the absolute heart of his unified theory of geologic history. He proposes that almost all of these mysteries can be explained not by millions of years of slow, gradual change, but by a single, unbelievably catastrophic global event that he calls the day the world ended. So what was this event? He calls it the rupture event. Now, this is not a flood from rain coming down, no. The idea here is that a massive global ocean of water trapped deep inside the Earth under insane pressure catastrophically burst through the planet's crust from below, completely reshaping the surface of the world in maybe just days or weeks. An event that violent would have had some crazy physical consequences. As those deep subterranean chambers emptied and the crust collapsed inward, the theory calculates that the Earth's entire radius physically shrank by about 46 kilometers. Now, you know how when an ice skater is spinning and they pull their arms in, they spin way faster? It's the same exact principle, just on a planetary scale. It's called the conservation of angular momentum. The theory crunches the numbers and says this contraction is exactly what was needed to speed up the Earth's rotation from an ancient 360-day year, which you see in a lot of old calendars, to the 365-and-a-quarter-day year we have today. Okay, but here's where the theory goes from being about Earth's ancient past to being about, well, the whole solar system. The view here is that this rupture event was so incredibly violent that it didn't just affect Earth. It left clues scattered all across our cosmic neighborhood. This is maybe the most powerful idea in the whole theory. He says, the solar system is not a mystery, it is a crime scene. What he means is that all these weird, unrelated puzzles, the water on Mars, the weirdness of the moon, the ice on Jupiter's moons, and yes, Saturn's rings, they're not separate mysteries at all. They're all exhibits, they're clues, all pointing back to a single culprit, one cataclysmic event on Earth. And to back this up, he presents two completely different lines of evidence that he says point to the same conclusion. One is based on that change in Earth's spin we just talked about. The other is basically just taking inventory, adding up all the water and rock that seems out of place across the solar system. And the really wild part? Both calculations allegedly lead to the exact same conclusion, that Earth used to be slightly bigger and have slightly lower gravity. So let's look at the exhibits from this cosmic crime scene. You've got Mars, which has water ice at its poles and permafrost that's hard to explain. You've got Jupiter's moon Europa, with a hidden ocean that has more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. You've got asteroids with water that has a chemical fingerprint matching our oceans. And Saturn's rings? Well, they're made of young, freshwater ice, and their total mass fits neatly into the amount of material the theory claims was blasted out of our planet. And that, right there, brings us full circle, all the way back to our original question. This theory gives a stunningly direct answer. Saturn's rings look young because they are young. In this view, they are literally the frozen debris from Earth's ancient cataclysm, which eventually fell into orbit around Saturn. It completely solves the age problem by tying it directly to a recent and terrestrial event. I mean, it is a radical, massive idea, right? It asks us to rethink, well, pretty much everything we thought we knew about geology and astronomy. The theory basically says the evidence for this single dramatic day isn't just buried under our feet, it's scattered across the solar system for us to see. And it leaves us with this one kind of mind-blowing question to chew on. Could a single day in our planet's distant past really be the key that unlocks the greatest mysteries of our entire solar system?